I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, and I'm putting this up again, trying to clarify it perhaps for whatever good it does. I was kidnapped in 1941, born in 39. My father's Edward VIII, King of England, who was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, from Madison, Wisconsin, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. They were still alive in October of 86 and still married to each other. Wallace Simpson was an American spy, and she married one of the imposters and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. And yes, Elizabeth has always known and remained quiet, and she's a war criminal. She actually works for the Illuminati that kidnapped me and took down my father and my mom. They've just deleted my mom from history, her pictures. They have her dying out in near Bel Air. Well, yeah, near Bel Air. She had a home. I'm trying to think. Anyway, she didn't die then. She was still alive. So they actually took down my mom and dad and kidnapped me. So they went through hell. And part of my family did it. George VI went with the Illuminati because my dad wouldn't follow their orders. The treaties that were signed, the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, who are Jews, excuse me, but they're the ones that kidnapped me and helped orchestrate this whole thing, and Elizabeth works for them. And that's been put in print on Wikipedia all over, not just because I saw it and already knew it from researching. So before this goes out and I'm tuned out here, I'm going to put it up again. I was kidnapped and brought to Moulton, Alabama, near NASA, which becomes involved in all this, the space program in Huntsville. And let me skip to this. I was writing in 76. I lived at Treetop Apartments, and I was writing about mind control murders. And I had worked for a group of doctors. And by the way, they knew I was doing the book, that I was Xeroxing the book on their Xerox machine. So they by a way of, they gave me a good recommendation after I worked there a year. And I really left to try to complete the book and get it published. Well, that ran into, I got a letter from the FBI, June the 23rd of 79, ongoing investigation, national security involved. Well, the national security involved would be if you told about me, what I was writing about, who my father is, and the Americans' part in trying to take down the United Kingdom, the Brits, and kidnapping, taking out a monarch, and the torture to me and my children, Mark and Scott, who are heirs after me. Now, this is what I want to put up here, and I'm sitting in front. I was trying to get some heat in here, and I don't think it's going to work. Anyway, I used Larry Flint. I was out there in a campaign in '83, and he did an article endorsement in April of '84 and said, I know who's responsible for his shooting. Well, they're mind control shootings or killings using mind control. You can tell Robin Williams to do things he's not aware he's getting it. If he did, who's he going to tell? I mean, your psychiatrists, all those people yesterday, your law enforcement, your agents, all your federal government up there yesterday at the shooting at the synagogue in Pittsburgh, all have to know this or you're in trouble. They do know. So they've lied. National security, I don't know, I was shocked. Anyway, I'm just going to give this. I've put enough up on about the mind control murders and patterns they were done in. Larry Flint was one of them, and I think possibly that was the reason that he, in part, gave the endorsement, because it was a program shooter that shot him. And George Wallace of Alabama, the governor of Alabama, while he was running for president in Laurel, Maryland, he was shot and paralyzed, and anyway, you couldn't buy his soul, so they took him out. And anyway, now then everything has come down to, they're calling these hate crimes, that people are prejudiced, that they're this and that, or mentally ill. Well, in what's going on, you can program the person without their knowledge, and it's been mass programming. So I don't know, are you programmed? And if you found out you had a chip in a root canal or somehow in your body, where are you going to go and tell them? You go and they'd handcuff you and lock you up, because this is exactly what's been going on, and I've been telling you about it. Martin Luther King partnered with JFK, Reverend Andrew Young, the mayor, and then made ambassador by Jimmy Carter, former governor, president, some years back while I was living and doing the book and the stuff being done to me, and they knew it. They partnered with JFK when he was still alive about using the mental health to destroy you, really. Mind control is mental health or mental illness is being blamed for murders done using the weapon of mind control, the government's weapon. And they can do it in mass. They keep reading off this morning on, I don't know if it's CNN, I guess it's CNN. All of them are controlled by the global government media, is just that kidnapped me, the Rockefeller Foundation or headquarters out of New York, the United Nations, that came to be after my father was disposed of, and me and my mom. They invaded the UK and the rest of Great Britain and used us to fight against ourselves. In the interest of the Illuminati, they had kidnapped me and taken my father down and done the horrific crimes here in this country to me and my sons who are heirs after me. So I'm going to go to yesterday, if you're still hanging in there with me, because this one will prove it. There's some more that will, that you can't doubt if you ever get it up before a court of law, and the media, controlled media, has to tell it. Well, I don't think I'm going to get it up here. I'm going to just read this out. Some of the mind control murders was Gabby Gifford, a congresswoman, Tucson, Arizona, some years back. She was married to Mark Kelly, who's a twin to Scott Kelly, and they're astronauts. Now, I'm going to go to this. Scott Peterson, out in California, is on death row for the murder of Lacey and his unborn son, Connor. This was a mind control murder, and he was supposed to have had this affair with Amber Fry. Amber as Amber Alert. This came from the kidnapping, programming people to kidnap children. And I'm going to leave it there. So you got people told their civil rights taken away from them. They don't know that they're being programmed. They go out and commit these crimes just like up here yesterday. And they're called hate crimes. They're called, they're mentally ill. And you go in their background, and they've programmed them way back, so they've got a history of sorts. Then they start blaming they're mentally ill. Hate crimes. I forgot what President Trump's daughter called it this morning. I can't believe, I thought Trump was a good guy. I really did. So anyway, this is where, and it is going to go off, you can prove it. 3 years ago, I'm looking for a home, HUD, low income. They took me out to Clifton Forge, Virginia. It's in Allegheny County. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Allegheny County is where the synagogue yesterday and the shootings happened. Pittsburgh is in the city of Pittsburgh is in I'm trying to hurry. Allegheny County up there in Pennsylvania. Okay, Scott Retirement, where I went 3 years ago, and then they called me again to come back, and I had to leave again because of the fumes they used on me, but they were doing patterns that I've spoken of. So if this doesn't go back and finally told to Scott Peterson, and he's on death row, he'll be put to death, just like Timothy McVeigh, who said the military put a chip up his buttocks and he was programmed. I had already told that because it fit in the patterns, and he was found guilty of the bombing at Murray Federal Building in Oklahoma City. Now, before this goes off or not, here are just a bit of the pattern, the words and things that go in the pattern. When I first saw this yesterday, I came on and said why I thought it was a mind control murder. I stated I didn't have all the patterns at that time. Later I did, and this may go off before I get it up. Robert Bowers is a shooter that they got so many crimes he could face the death penalty. Okay, Robert was name of a friend. He was in law enforcement. Had no last name. That's the clue to it. Okay, Bowers was the mayor of Roanoke when that's where I've lived, Roanoke County. Salem's in Roanoke County. I've lived in the city of Roanoke or the county. Okay, 1992 he was mayor till 2000. Okay, second term was 2008 to 2016. Okay, I'm going to read this again. Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Jackson River. Well, I think I got that wrong. It's not Jackson River. What's the river up there? Well, anyway, Clifton Forge, where I was taken twice, 3 years ago and this year, out to Scott Hill retirement, in which they sabotaged me with toxic fumes, but they did patterns that are in these murders. Okay, Scott Hill is in Clifton Forge, Roanoke area, and trying to see. Well, anyway, you've got it, the Scott Hill, and it's in Allegheny County, Virginia, as in the shootings took place in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. Now then, if it sounds rambling, imagine me trying to put it together. I'm not sitting up here getting paid and have a home and my children and eat and go out and live the fancy lifestyle. Mine's been hell, but I've paid for a lot of theirs. The media needs locked up. If you want to lock up somebody, the media and your people sitting in Congress that have known this, and your federal people who've allowed it to happen. And the more they say they're going to bring in more security, that's the whole thing in this: security on airplanes, security at schools, Sandy Hook, etc., etc. The part in this is they're accomplishing the global government, the shutdown, where you have no more freedom. And who's to say that the person that's security on an airplane flight, or at Sandy Hook school, or at the school in Parkland, Florida, are not programmed, and they can turn around and start shooting or knifing them to the students or the people on the plane themselves. So it's unlimited. You have to attack the weapon that's being used, and that's mind control. And the people who've let it happen, I can't tell much more because, quite frankly, they're blaming mentally ill and calling them depraved when they're victims. Mental illness has nothing to do with this. And so help me God, that is the sickest thing. James Holmes in the Aurora, Colorado, if this is still going up, this is a good example. He is treated for mental illness. He's not mentally ill. He was under mind control, a weapon, a programming. You have to deprogram him and stop it. And the doctors have all known this. Oh, believe me, they have. So there's so many laws taking away civil rights. If you went in and you were treated for the flu, but you had cancer, how would you feel? Imagine taking medication that's not medication he's taking. It's torture, psychological warfare that James Holmes was treated with, and also Russell Yates' wife that drowned her kids in Houston some years back. Can you imagine? She's not mentally ill either, but that's what she's being given. Drugs, psychotic drugs for mental illness, when the crime was mind control. Her power to think independently, she was programmed, you stop the programming. My God, what kind of sick. That's all I have to say, because it's scary, because it's martial law will come down, and that's the end of it. Global government's in power now.